What's up guys, my name is Ace, and Ground War is here for the Modern Warfare beta, and I gotta say, I'm having a really good time with it so far. I think it's pretty awesome. So today I just wanted to share my thoughts in much greater detail than just saying I think it's pretty awesome. It's not perfect by any means, but so far, with the exception of gunfight, I think this is the most fun I've had with Modern Warfare. And that's quite interesting because when I played Ground War at the Capture event in LA a couple months ago now, we played on a different map. It was called like Ania Palace or something like that. And that one was a 20v20 mode, and I really didn't like that. I didn't enjoy it at all. That one was a much smaller scale map. There were no helicopters or tanks or anything. It was just ATVs. On this new map that they added for the beta though, Karst River Quarry with 32v32 with helicopters, tanks, ATVs, and a much larger scale than that other one that we played, I'm actually having quite a good time with it when the performance is holding up. Now that's one thing I've noticed. I play on a PS4 Pro, and the frame drops are insane. I've also noticed a lot of stuttering with my connection where like I can barely move my character or I'm rubber banding around, and it's really frustrating when that happens, obviously. And it really happens a lot when the fight is concentrated to a small area. So hopefully that's the kind of stuff that they can get kind of tweaked and worked out throughout a beta. But like I said, with the exception of those performance issues, I'm generally having a very good time based on my initial impressions. Keeping in mind the gameplay you're watching in the background, it'll be from the very first game that I played on this. Maybe it'll be first and second game if I chop it up a little bit. But yeah, I'm really having a good time with it so far. Now, a few things to point out. Spawns are just ridiculously stupid, but that's kind of just a consequence of doing the squad spawn system, or when you choose a spawn. And I think that's just something we'll have to get used to. That's how the game is going to play. Maybe they could do a little bit better with preventing enemies from spawning right in your line of sight, or vice versa. Because even in my very limited playtime, at the time of recording this video, I've only played about 3 or 4 games. Even with that limited amount of playtime, I can't even count the number of times I've literally watched somebody spawn in my line of sight. So definitely an issue, but at the same time, it's kind of just something you have to expect when you have squad spawning. It's one of the reasons I never really liked Battlefield all that much, is you would like kill 2 people, but then another person would just pop out of their butts as you're trying to get a reload in while you're already hurt, and then he just instantly destroys you, and it just doesn't really feel like there's much skill or control in those situations. But if we're looking at just like dumb fun where it's just a massive chaotic battle, they've done a really good job with this, in my opinion. Even the vehicles, I'm pretty impressed with how they've handled the vehicles based on my initial impressions with this so far. I don't think the vehicles are handled nearly as well as Battlefield, for instance. But having said that, I think they did a pretty good job. The helicopters seem to handle pretty nicely. The tanks also seem to handle pretty good. Although maybe there are just a few too many tanks. That's an opinion I have that may end up changing over time. But I have noticed that there's like always a tank around no matter what. So maybe a slight reduction would be in order for that. Also, the typical Modern Warfare problem. This is a big problem I've noticed on every map, and it definitely applies to this as well. This is the dark areas. It is so hard to see people. I'm often finding that I'm just shooting below name tags because I can't actually see that there's a person there, but I see a name tag, so I'll just start putting bullets underneath it. Maybe I'll get a kill, maybe I won't. And that is something that I fully anticipate will be worked out for launch across all maps and modes and everything. I'm really excited to play the game once they actually have that fix in place, because as of now, it's really frustrating to run into that. Now, one of the highlights I've noticed so far with this is sniping. Sniping is so much fun on this map in these 32v32 situations. I like that you can get pretty much anywhere on the map. You can parkour your way up onto any rooftops. You can go up on the cliffs if you wanted to. You can play it however you'd like to play it. And the sniping feels really good. I do need to get way more practice with it though, because it seems very inconsistent at really long range. And I'm fully aware of the fact that there are actual ballistics. You have to aim a little bit high. You have to lead your target if they're moving. But even while doing that, I really feel like it's inconsistent. Like some shots I feel I definitely should miss, I'm actually getting a hit on. And then other shots where it's like, yeah, I'm compensating nicely for bullet drop as well, and I just don't get any hit on a perfectly stationary enemy. And it's just really inconsistent feeling at this point. But like I said, that could be just something that I need more practice with, and once I get better practice with it, I will end up being able to hit my shots a lot more consistently. Another thing I'm really liking about this mode so far is it seems like people are either set up in predictable positions that are relatively easy to counter, like you can snipe them out of those positions pretty easily, or they're actually moving around the map. And this is something that I haven't seen as much in the smaller modes, the traditional Call of Duty modes. And honestly, I think a big part of this is due to the fact that we have a bigger, more zoomed out minimap, and enemies that fire their gun without a suppressor will appear on that minimap. This means if you are set up in a power position and you're shooting people with a sniper rifle, for instance, people can find you a lot easier and they can work to counter you. Whereas if those dots weren't appearing, it would feel like absolute chaos, like bullets are just coming from everywhere and you can't really pinpoint the location of those shots very easily. I think this is definitely contributing to people moving around a lot more, being a lot more careful. If they are in a camping position, they might take a few shots at somebody, but then they're going to end up moving and trying a different position because they've revealed themselves on the minimap. And I think this plays really, really well. And as much as I'm happy that we got that compromise with multiplayer, I can't help but think now how this would play out if we had this in standard modes as well. Like, I definitely don't expect the minimap to be zoomed out nearly as much because it's zoomed out an insane amount in the 32v32 modes. But if they were to zoom it out a little bit in standard multiplayer modes, and then also have it so unless you have a suppressor on, if you're firing your gun, you will appear on the radar. I can't help but think that that would significantly improve the flow on these standard like 6v6 or 10v10 modes. Now again, I'm not going to push super hard for that change because we already have the compromise that they've made where they added the minimap back in the first place so you could see a teammate's positioning. So I am happy with that, but there is that thought in my mind that I think the flow would improve a lot if dots were to appear again. And if you want to stay off the minimap, then you have the trade-off of using a suppressor. That's just my opinion, though, and I do want to know in the comments below if you do agree with that or disagree with that. It's totally fine to disagree there. But yeah, what else do I want to say about this? I guess it's really nice. I feel like I've got a bit more control over my surroundings when I'm playing 32v32 as well, which is quite surprising because there's 32 other players on the map. You would think it would just be absolute chaos that you can't control. But with the size of the map and with the fact that you have that big mini-map that's zoomed out, you've got the red dots appearing, I really feel like I understand my surroundings quite well, and therefore I've been finding going on streaks is so much easier in this mode compared to the 6v6 or 10v10 modes, and that feels pretty good. I honestly think my first nuke will end up being in this 64-player mode. I've gone on some great streaks already with very limited playtime so far, and I'm going to throw my tinfoil hat on here just for a second. I honestly feel like the enemies that I'm playing against when I'm playing this ground war mode are average players again. Now, I know the whole skill-based matchmaking debate, it's kind of all over the place. There's no real proper evidence to suggest that strict skill-based matchmaking is in the regular modes, but I can't help but feel that that has been the case. And when I hop into this 64-player mode, the difference in the skill level of the players I'm coming up against is literally night and day. Like, these are just not the same types of people that I'm playing against in the other game modes. And I think that might be one of the reasons I've also been having quite a good time playing this 64-player mode so far. Now, this could be 100% completely in my head. I'm not making any definitive statements here. I'm just saying that I feel like this is a mode where there is no strict skill-based matchmaking, and I have been getting the impression that there is strict skill-based matchmaking in the other modes. And I think that might be one of the reasons I'm also enjoying this so much. Now, having said all of this, this really doesn't feel like COD. Like, yes, the character movement, the way you handle your guns, that still feels like Call of Duty, but this isn't really a Call of Duty experience. It feels like I'm playing Battlefield with Call of Duty mechanics, and that's not necessarily a bad thing by any means. However, I do have a concern with this. It seems like a lot of people are enjoying this, like myself, and this does concern me for these standard modes that we normally play Call of Duty for, like the 6v6 style modes. I'm a little bit worried that people are going to enjoy these ground war modes so much that they will end up being the main focus for the developers this time around. And I'm a little bit concerned that 6v6 is going to end up being completely neglected. So as much fun as I'm having playing these modes, it doesn't really scratch that Call of Duty itch for me. It doesn't feel like I'm playing Call of Duty. It doesn't feel like that traditional smaller arcade style maps, 6v6 with really good map control, and a solo player can really have a good impact and control over the game. Instead, you just feel like a soldier. You're in there and you're just having fun in a chaotic environment, shooting all the enemies around you, which is fun in its own way, but like I said, it doesn't replace that Call of Duty feel and that Call of Duty experience for me. So I definitely have that slight concern that Call of Duty might sort of lose its identity in this area. I get what they're going for. Battlefield has been dropping the ball lately. Call of Duty's trying to pick up the slack and pick up all those Battlefield players. And it seems like a lot of the Battlefield players are enjoying themselves quite a bit. Even though Battlefield definitely handles a lot of this large-scale stuff way better than this 32v32 mode, I think it's offering a pretty good place for those Battlefield players, and they seem to be quite happy overall with it. But that's just my opinion. I'm having a blast with Ground War so far. I'd like to know in the comment section below, what are you guys thinking about this 32v32 mode and this map and the vehicles and just the overall feel of Ground War in general so far? Are you really enjoying yourself with it, or is it not really for you? If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.
Yeah.